I want you and your office manager and your front desk and your CA and anyone on payroll have every person in your building write down every task that they do for 1 week. You are not just overpaying yourself to do low-level work. You're definitely overpaying your office manager to do it too. Attention chiropractors, slayers of subluxation, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse, and protectors of the developing brain. Welcome to the Cranial Doc Podcast, where we master the work that actually changes lives. Craniopathy, nervous system-based care, and the business systems that let you scale without selling your soul. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino, pediatric chiropractor, certified craniopath, and proud automation geek. Let's dive in. All right there, subluxation slayer. It's me, Dr. Anthony Pellegrino. And out of curiosity, have you just ever had like one of those weeks where you are just busy every single day? You've never sat down. By Thursday night, you are completely wiped. You go look back and realize you didn't really actually do anything that really moved the needle forward. Maybe you were just doing stuff and clicking buttons and responding to things and maintaining or just surviving. And I'm not just talking about adjusting patients either. I mean everything. The admin, the reports, the exports, the follow-ups, the tasks that somehow keep existing even though nobody can tell you why they matter. I had one of those weeks a few months ago, and as I transitioned into my current paternity leave, I decided to start to look at things a little differently, get a little bit more pissed off, and decide exactly how to map out where my time is going. And what I found really got me upset. And what I did about it, using tools that are available to literally every single one of you right now, have completely changed my practice and my life. And that's what we're going to get into today. On this podcast, maybe, but definitely in the cranialdoc.com email series, which is a free email series, which you should definitely be on. We've definitely talked about this concept of eliminate, automate, and delegate before, which I got from Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Workweek. It is something that runs in the back of my mind, an audit that I do every few months that has completely changed the game for us. Instead of just talking about that concept, though, this episode is going to be different for two different reasons. Number one, we're going to tell real stories of what I've actually automated in the last few weeks and months and what I've eliminated. We're also going to start to talk about how some of the tools available right now have changed the game in a way that most docs haven't yet caught up to. And I'm going to challenge you to run this audit, not just for yourself, but for every person on payroll. I am so fired with what's possible with automation right now. I'm the type of person since the age of like 9 or 10, I have been learning how to automate things, write code, never formally, just on my own. I used to, back in the day, have my phone set up at a root access so it knew that when my GPS knew that I was in my home, it would automatically turn on my Wi-Fi and change the network that I connected to. This is years ago before like that just happens automatically now. I also have it as a dream in my life that when I own a home where that has a garage that I want to pull into, because right now my garage is not one that I want to pull into because it's my gym. But when I have that massive 7-car garage that I can fit my car into, I have the program written where my phone knows that when I make the right onto my street, the garage door will open. And that's just a way that my brain has always thought. And this kind of stuff for you has never been more easy than it is right now. And I know by the end of this episode, you're going to feel the same way. So let's just start by overviewing this concept of what Tim Ferriss describes as eliminate, automate, delegate. What does this actually mean? Essentially, every few months, every whenever, especially right now, we should be looking at the different things that happen in our life and our practice and taking different tasks that we don't need to do and deciding to get rid of them. What tasks am I doing that I can delegate to somebody else? And what tasks am I doing that I can automate? And which tasks that I should do that I eliminate? The problem is that everybody always thinks backwards. I just don't want to do this, so let me just delegate to this for somebody else. But no one ever wants to stop and think, is this task even something that I need to do at all? So we need to eliminate. Because the rule is we never delegate a task that can be automated with technology, and we never automate a task that should be eliminated. So an example of this, just the writing of a report that nobody wants to read. In the corporate world, they say, hey, is this meeting could have been an email? Basically, like, are we just meeting for the sake of meetings, or should we just eliminate that entire system altogether? Follow-up sequences that we're doing and sending that aren't converting or aren't working. For me, one thing that I eliminated in past years was we used to do an office tour for everyone who came into our office, and just recognizing and realizing that completely didn't make any sense. We were using systemization to just try to throw enough education at the wall to see what sticks. And more importantly, we were eliminating the connection of making their very first interaction with us in the office be all about us and not about them, which is an easy way to see a lot of people for low dollar. It's a really hard way to see a lot of people with high value, right? So all those first interactions have to be about you in the office. So what I really want you to ask yourself is look at the list of different things that are happening in your life and in your practice and say, if I stop doing this tomorrow, and would anyone notice in 2 weeks? And if they wouldn't, it shouldn't exist. So question number 2, can tech handle this? If so, then we automate it. This is the sweet spot, and there are amazing automation tools that we're going to kind of discuss. But this is basically taking, instead of giving a task to a team member who we pay dollars an hour, we can maybe have a software that costs just a little bit, has 0 errors, and runs while we sleep automatically. We're not going to deep dive here yet. I've got 2 fun stories of what I've automated in the last week that I think is going to just make life a lot easier for you, okay? And then question number 3 is something that we talk a lot about, not just because of Eliminate, Automate, Delegate, but because I talk all about the Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell book as well. And with doing our 2-week time audit, doing our buyback rate, check the email series if you haven't read that. I have clear and specific things that you should be able to do. And if you're not on my email series, it's thecranialdoc.com. But essentially having a number that says, if I can pay someone less than this dollar amount, I don't do it anymore. And this might not just be in your office. This might be your lawn. Shit, this might be laundry. I don't know what it is. If you're doing it and it costs less than this amount, you're losing money by doing that task. That's what you should start to think about it. The problem, though, is that most docs will start to jump here, as I mentioned. So they'll give it to a team member, or they'll think they're really good about giving it to a VA to do it, but they could have just spent $30 a month to do what they're spending $30 an hour for to handle it instantly. So we may have traded our time for their time, but the inefficiency is still alive. We just moved it off of our paycheck and onto theirs. So again, I will repeat the whole point of this. Never delegate something that can be automated. Never automate something that should be eliminated. The order is the point. If you get it wrong, you are spending money to keep bad systems alive. Now, I honestly, the one thing I wanted to talk about in this episode, the last 8 minutes have been building up to this, is automation and how different it is right now. A year ago, automating something meant using things like Zapier, which is awesome, but has limitations because of APIs and what it can do, or hiring a developer, or learning code, and doing a lot of prayer to see, will this work, will it break? Right now, you can sit down with an AI, describe a task in plain English, and get back a completely working automation or a step-by-step plan to build one. Zapier is really cool because it's really user-friendly, but tools like N8N or Make or Pipedream or even native Go High-level workflows like we have in our Go High-level membership at thecranialdoc.com/membership can handle things that used to require a button person sitting at a screen and clicking buttons. The barrier used to be technical skill. Now it's just simply awareness and creativity. Most docs don't automate because they don't realize that the thing that they're doing manually actually can be automated. They've never stopped and asked that question. So let me give you 2 real examples from my practice. One is about time, and one is about something worse than time, which is the mental weight of carrying around unfinished crap all day. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about something that I just did with my ad management first, okay? So this is just something that's so silly and so simple. And I've mentioned on here a couple of different times that I took back my ad management a couple months ago because it was something that I really wanted to work and get perfectly right and systematized perfectly. So I'm doing both Meta and Google Ads, and they're performing amazingly. I am getting to the place where I have the system dialed in enough that I don't need too much of my brain power to think about it. I can hand it off to somebody else. for me, I'm delaying that delegation phase to somebody else because I am in a huge growth mode. And, sometimes you can delegate, like when you first hand off report of findings, it's like, hey, if they do it 80% as well as you can, it's good enough. But right now, I only want 100%. And so this is an area of high proficiency for me. So learning this is fun and I like it and everything else like that. So I'm holding on to it right now. But one of the things that I do is I go through and export a lot of CSVs or like Excel documents with ad performance. So I'll look at dynamic creative, I'll break down every individual asset, and I will export all of those CSVs over multiple time frames, 3 days, 7 days, 14, 30 days. And then I will go ahead and I will upload that into Claude right now. I've used to use ChatGPT. I just switched to Claude with a very specific prompt. And then I would go through, do the analysis, have conversation, make decisions. And that's fun. But every single week, twice a week, the biggest time consumption was going Meta Ad Dashboard and Google Ads Dashboard and exporting every single CSV that I wanted. It took time. You had to go to the asset, go to the time frame, click the button, wait 20 seconds, wait for it to download, And I just was thinking about it and I was like, this is so freaking annoying. So I went into Claude and I was like, hey, I go and I do this workflow with you every single week. The biggest time issue that I have is this, which is exporting the CSVs. Is there a way that I can automate that process so that I can just have the CSVs or you can access it or whatever else? And I didn't really know what it was going to do. And it was like, yeah, cool. We can use N8N and here's the full freaking workflow description, everything else like that to be able to do this exact task. So I was like, awesome, cool. I built that out. It took me a little bit of time, maybe about an hour to set up. And so instead of me taking an extra 20 to 30 minutes to do this export twice a week, I literally just came in this morning. I did some ads management. I set it up so that every Sunday and Thursday, it creates and exports all of the appropriate CSVs for me, and it sits in a Dropbox folder. I came in, I literally sat down, I just dragged it into Claude and say, hey, it's Thursday, we're doing our meta analysis, you know the prompt. Boom, done, everything done. What used to take me 45 minutes took me 5. Done. And you can keep this like as simple or as amazing as you want. That's just a perfect example. I did that with Meta. I did it with Google. I have a bunch of other automations where I just looked and I was like, man, shit, I am just clicking buttons and waiting. That is a pain in the ass. Side note as well, I like to use the most complex models when I use the AI. So like for right now, I use Opus 4.6 for Claude and GPT. I was using the Thinking 5.2 model. And it's good because it gives you more comprehensive answers. It just takes like a little bit more time. So I have 3 screens on my computer and I have, if I'm like using AI, let's say I have 2 different things I'm working on at once. I'll have like my right screen be processing something because that model just takes a little bit longer. And then the left screen doing something else, maybe it's agentic in the browser, making a change, auditing an account, something like that, while I'm working and typing on the middle. So I basically have 3 different things that I'm doing at once. That's not an automate, eliminate, delegate conversation. It's just like, that's what we can be doing. You shouldn't be waiting there for your AI to answer. You shouldn't be going back and forth with prompts back and forth. You should be doing both. I use the most complex model that's going to give me the best answer. I give a really clear and specific prompt. It might take 5 minutes to answer, but I can work on something else in the meantime. Amazing, right? Now, story number 2 of what I automated. And I am so much more pumped about this. I've completely delegated and automated the entirety of my calendar because I hate managing things. I hate managing time. If my wife tells me that we're going to do something on Saturday, it is massively stressful for me to think about. It like needs to go into a calendar. I need to see exactly what's going on visually. And that's always been a big problem for me. If I have an open task or something that I'm working on, it is really challenging for me just because of the way my nervous system works to not finish that task as well. And so let's say that I have to go pick up my kids from school and I was in the middle of working on a project. For me, I'm so afraid that I'm going to forget where I was at or what I was doing that like I'll stop, I'll leave, I'll go pick up the kids and I'll just be obsessing and ruminating over that task for the rest of the day until I get to finish it up. It's not that it's something that's urgent. It's not something that it's like a hard task. It's just like, what was I doing? I'm just constantly asking that question over and over and over and over. For me, it's like stopping reading a book right at the cliffhanger. Like I can't manage it. And it's something that it was really challenging for me. That's a long story short. This is what I did. I had this idea, which is that, again, because I told you I'm working on 3 screens, that I wanted to create a software program that I could press a button on my computer, and what it would do was capture everything that was open on my desktop at that moment. It would take that, have Claude or my AI analyze it, determine what was actually important or not, send a notification to my phone, and have me select in my phone if this was something that I need to finish or not. And if I did, it would automatically add a task to my calendar to complete that. So I knew that I wouldn't forget about it. It would actually get done, and I would not have to obsess over it for the rest of the day because I knew it was scheduled in my calendar. I know that sounds crazy. You might be like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. And I just thought this is such a ridiculous idea. There's no way. It's going to be so hard to code. There's going to be so intricate. You have from my phone to the computer to an API going to my calendar and everything else like that. And I finished the entirety of this thing in 90 minutes. I have a fully functioning, beautiful software program that right now at the end of this, because I'm going to leave in a couple minutes to pick up my kids from school, I have a couple different things up on the screen. I'm going to press a button on my taskbar, and it's going to send a notification to my phone with filtered out what AI thinks is the most important things that I was working on that I need to finish. I'm going to select which ones it is, when it's due by, when it's due by, and how long it's going to take. And then it's going to send it to my Motion calendar and schedule it for me automatically. And like, shit, you can do that. That took 90 minutes. You can do if I can do that, you can do effing anything. So here's the deal. This is what I want you to do. I want you and your office manager and your front desk and your CA and anyone on payroll have every person in your building write down every task that they do for 1 week. Not that they think they do, not afterwards. Well, what did I do in that last hour? As they are doing it, every report, every export, every phone call, every piece of data entry, every follow-up, everything. Here is the thing. You are not just overpaying yourself to do low-level work. You're definitely overpaying your office manager to do it too. There are definitely things that you hired that person because they're smart and organized and good with people, and you've got them spending 2 hours a day on a task that could be given to a different CA, that is paid less, or could have been given to a VA that's working for a couple bucks an hour, or could have been automated, or just completely eliminated. That's not a people problem, that's a systems problem. And you're worried about your capacity and how do we grow and grow and grow. Imagine if your team members were actually able to just focus on growing and the people in front of them and not all the stupid shit that you have them being done. So again, go back in your practice. Look at this list from everyone. Number 1, eliminate. Be ruthless. If it can die, kill it. Then automate. That is where the gold mine is right now. And then delegate what's left. So if you aren't sure what can be delegated or automated, just literally take those lists, have your team send you Word documents, upload it into Claude or AI, whatever you use, turn on the most powerful model available. Like I mentioned, it's Opus 4.6, and just say, hey, what here can be automated? Or if there's a task you're unsure about, say, hey, this is something that I do every single week and it's a waste of time. Blah, 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 blah. This is my workflow. Is there a way to simplify or automate this? Or can you turn this into a checklist that's so clear that someone else can execute it without screwing it up? That makes sure that things are actually accurate. And the more clear and the more a monkey could do it, that means that you can hire somebody who can get paid less to do it, right? The first question is for the automation. And the second one for the checklist is what we use to unlock our delegation. Half the reason that docs don't delegate at all is because they're afraid that it'll get done wrong. And the solution to that is a good checklist. AI could build you a solid one in 90 seconds if you ask. One of our core values in our office is excellence, and we reference Ritz Carlton service all of the time. I literally had a conversation today because people weren't following checklists in the office. And my team is obsessed with excellence. They're A players, but they just kind of got like, hey, I really know this. I'm going to do things from memory. And they stopped actually following the checklist and just did it from their head and didn't look at the checklist. And all of a sudden things started dropping. And the conversation that I had is Ritz Carlton service is Ritz Carlton service because of the checklists. Excellence is systematized. It's not somebody saying, how do I go above and beyond? Above and beyond is programmed into what they do. And they look at it and they check it off. It's just high standard. So again, look at every hour of payroll in your building this week. Yours, your team's, everyone's. Ask whether that hour is earning its keep. And when you find the ones that aren't, you now have the tools to fix it faster than any point in history. please message me, dranthony@thecranialdoc.com, and get on the cranialdoc.com email list and respond to all of those emails. And let me know what you take off your plate this week. I want to know what you killed. I want to know what you delegated. I definitely want to know what you automated, because I'll probably steal some of your ideas and automate them for myself. Go get after it and slay some subluxations efficiently. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Cranial Doc podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. And if you did, it would mean the world to me if you jumped over to iTunes or your favorite podcast player of choice and subscribed, rated, reviewed, and shared this episode with a friend that you know could benefit. We have a ton of this information and more in our free email series at thecranialdoc.com. So go ahead and jump on there, subscribe, and get me raw, unfiltered in your inbox every week, changing your practice. Can't wait to see you for the next episode.